When you hear the name Dracula, you imagine fangs, coffins, and eternal darkness. A monster who drinks blood and sleeps in shadows. But what if I told you the real Dracula didn't need supernatural powers to terrify the world? He was not a vampire. He did not rise from the dead. And yet, his real actions were far more horrifying than fiction. Today, we uncover top 10 shocking truths about the man behind Dracula, a real historical figure whose cruelty, trauma, and legacy inspired one of the most feared characters of all time. 10. Dracula was based on a real man, not a myth. The character of Dracula was inspired by a real 15th century ruler named Vlad III Dracula, also known as Vlad the Impaler. He ruled the region of Wallachia, part of modern-day Romania. While Bram Stoker added supernatural elements in his novel, the foundation of Dracula's cruelty came directly from historical accounts. Vlad was not a legend created to scare children. He was a documented ruler whose reputation spread fear across Europe during his lifetime. 9. His childhood was filled with trauma and captivity. One of the most disturbing truths about Vlad Dracula is that his cruelty did not appear out of nowhere. As a child, Vlad and his younger brother were taken hostage by the Ottoman Empire. For years, he lived under constant threat of torture and execution. He witnessed brutal punishments, executions, and psychological terror at a very young age. Historians believe this captivity deeply scarred him. The boy who watched violence every day would later rule with violence himself. Dracula wasn't born a monster. He was shaped into one. 8. The name Dracula literally means son of the devil. Many people assume the name Dracula was invented for horror fiction, but it has a real and chilling origin. Vlad's father was a member of the Order of the Dragon, a Christian military order. His father was called Dracul, meaning dragon. Vlad became known as Dracula, meaning son of Dracul. Over time, the word Dracul also became associated with the devil. This dark linguistic evolution helps cement Vlad's terrifying reputation long before vampires were ever part of the story. 7. Impalement was not symbolic. It was his signature punishment. Vlad earned the nickname the Impaler for a reason. Impalement was his preferred method of execution, and he used it on a horrifying scale. Victims were slowly pierced through the body with wooden stakes and left alive for hours or even days. Historical records describe entire forests of impaled bodies surrounding cities. Men, women, children, criminals, enemies. No one was spared. This was not random cruelty. Vlad used terror as a political weapon, believing fear was the most effective way to maintain order. 6. He used terror as psychological warfare. One shocking truth often overlooked is that Vlad's cruelty was strategic. When invading armies approached his land, they were met not with soldiers, but with fields of impaled corpses. Chroniclers wrote that enemy soldiers would vomit, faint, or flee upon seeing the sight. Vlad understood something terrifying. You don't need to fight an army if you can break its mind. This level of psychological warfare was unheard of at the time, and made his name echo across Europe as something worse than death itself. 5. He was both a monster and a national hero. Here's a disturbing contradiction. While much of Europe saw Vlad as a demon, many Romanians still consider him a national hero. Why? Because he defended his land fiercely against the Ottoman Empire and punished corruption brutally. Thieves were terrified. Crime reportedly dropped drastically under his rule. There are legends claiming he left gold cups in public places without guards, and no one dared steal them. To some, he was a tyrant. To others, he was justice incarnate. This duality makes him one of history's most complex figures. 4. The blood-drinking rumors didn't come from nowhere. While Vlad was not a vampire, disturbing rumors surrounded him even during his lifetime. Some German pamphlets claimed he dipped bread in the blood of his victims or washed his hands in it. These stories were likely exaggerated propaganda, but they played a major role in shaping his image. When Bram Stoker later searched for inspiration, these blood-soaked legends fit perfectly into the vampire myth. Fiction did not invent Dracula's bloodlust, it inherited it. 3. His castle was practically impossible to escape. Vlad's main fortress, Ponary Castle, was built high on a cliff overlooking the Argus River. Reaching it required climbing hundreds of steep steps. Prisoners, enemies, and traitors were often brought here, but rarely left alive. The isolation of the castle, combined with its height and surrounding wilderness, added to Vlad's terrifying aura. To prisoners, being taken there was often worse than a death sentence. It was a place where fear lived long before ghosts ever did. 2. He was imprisoned, but still feared. Ironically, Vlad the Impaler himself was eventually captured and imprisoned for years by the Hungarian king. But even behind bars, his reputation terrified people. Stories claim he continued impaling animals and insects during captivity, unable to abandon his obsession with punishment. Whether exaggerated or not, the fact remains, his legend grew even while he was locked away. Most rulers fade into obscurity after imprisonment. Vlad Dracula became even more feared. 1. His death is as mysterious as his life. The end of Vlad Dracula is unclear and deeply unsettling. Some accounts say he was killed in battle. Others claim he was assassinated. His body was supposedly buried, but when his tomb was opened years later, it was empty. No confirmed remains were ever identified. This uncertainty allowed myths to flourish. The idea that Dracula had no body, no grave, and no closure fed directly into vampire folklore. Reality blurred into legend, and the monster was born. The real man behind Dracula was not a supernatural creature hiding from sunlight. He was far more terrifying, a human capable of unimaginable cruelty. Vlad III Dracula proves that horror doesn't need magic. Fear doesn't need fangs. Sometimes the darkest monsters walk in daylight, wear crowns, and rule in the name of order. And maybe that's why Dracula still haunts us today, because deep down we know the truth is scarier than fiction.